what a move! Ukrainian elite Azov Brigade was able to sneak behind Russian soldiers and eliminate the entire unit, bringing them a flawless victory. Besides that, a major Russian military base in Donetsk region was obliterated with HIMARS. And then Russians, even though they started their new offensive in Robotyne, some of them already started to surrender. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some, say with me, ridiculous Russian propaganda! Yeah, boy! A little bit way too over-enthusiastic, but we have a reason to be so happy, because today you already know about Battle Babushkas, right? What about Cyber Babushkas? Because recently they created a new unit inside their organization, which are basically typical Western Hollywood looking hackers with the sunglasses, with Matrix letters flying over their screens, with the anonymous masks from Guy Fawkes from V for Vendetta. And they are pretty much like, we are gonna hack the world for our dear Putin, but as long as our grandchildren will show us how to turn on the computer, because, I mean, we do not know much about computers, but we will hack the world for our Putin. And I mean, guys, at this point, it just has to be a parody, a trolling of themselves. Like, I simply cannot imagine that some people can actually be serious when recording these videos and threatening the world to defeat them in the name of Putin. But we will leave this ridiculousness to them, because now it is time to talk about actual serious stuff, and we begin with the update from the south of Ukraine, where Russians started to surrender in Robotyne, and then we'll go to the east of the country, where there are a couple amazing news. And so yes, the south of Ukraine. First of all, we have this video of Ukrainians using FPV drones, where they were able to destroy entire hangar full of Russian military vehicles, reportedly 2 tanks, 2 infantry fighting vehicles, 2 other military related trucks, and 1 extremely rare infantry fighting vehicle called Terminator of Russians has been destroyed. And besides this, Ukrainians hinted us with this video where they show us a heavy drone with not just one destructive device, but at least 4 of them. So maybe these are multi-use drones, not the ones which are like you just attack the target and that the drone self-destructs. So in case this is true, and in case Ukrainians will increase the usage of these new heavy multi-purpose drones, this can give them a very significant advantage in the near future. And speaking about the drones, right here is a very interesting and probably one of the very first recorded footage since the beginning of this war, where Ukrainians were able to use a simple FPV drone and intercept a Russian winged kamikaze drone Lancet mid-flight. So it is not just like a regular small FPV drone versus another small FPV drone. No, this is the small FPV drone from the Ukrainian side and a huge, flying straight at a very high speed, Russian drone. So the opportunities, the chances of this happening are pretty slim, but Ukrainians were able to achieve this, showing the extreme professionalism of Ukrainian drone operators. But it does not end here. Right here is the video from the left side of Kherson region across the Dnipro, which is under the occupation by Russians, at least temporarily. And Ukrainians were able to destroy a Russian drone unit, the ones which has been launching Lancet against the positions of Ukrainians. And they were able to destroy it with the use of a HIMARS. And by the way, this is not the only successful use of HIMARS, which happened in the last 24 hours. Soon you will know why. And as we go to Zaporozhye front line, which at this very moment is becoming the next major combat front line in the entire Ukraine, right here is the video of a Ukrainian nighttime raid, when they were able to successfully repel the attacks of Russians and also push them even further away. And allegedly, it is supposedly Russians who are trying to advance next to Robotyne and this entire front line, but right here we have a video from Ukrainians which show that it is actually Russian soldiers who are surrendering to Ukrainians in Robotyne. So the opportunities for Russians, the offensive of Russians have just started. But there are already the very first soldiers who are like, well, it does not feel feasible. It is not like Avdiivka, where we were doing this for several months straight at a cost of 50,000 people. So pretty much I do not want to kinda risk myself. I better save my life and become a prisoner of war. Something what a lot of other Russian soldiers should think about doing. And just once again, guys, yes, it is pretty obvious at this point that Russians selected their new front line, which is Zaporozhye, and this is where they'll be pushing in the next several months. So let's see if they'll be successful or not. To be honest, my personal opinion, they will not be successful. They lost a lot of resources, including the infantry in the east, and they simply do not have the capabilities to do this once again. But just once again, guys, if you do want to follow these events, they will be potentially very crucial for this stage of war. Simply, guys, if you don't mind, like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will keep you updated every single day on the development of this situation. Also, please do not forget that recently we released the official The Russian Dude merch, which can be found on therussiandude.com. So please go ahead and see if there is something that you like or not, and this is one of the best ways to support the channel. Right, and now let me give you an update from the east of Ukraine, where a gigantic base of Russians has been literally annihilated with HIMARS. But first of all, some not so good news, because this last night a lot of attacks by Russians were happening across the territory of Ukraine, mostly against the civilian objects and such residential areas, for example in Poltava, in Sumy and in Kramatorsk, were severely affected, as you can see from these pictures and videos. Some of these attacks, such as for example in Kramatorsk, happened as a result of artillery attacks by Russians, and in other regions this was debris of the Russian intercepted drones. Because Ukrainian air defense luckily was able to intercept all 23 out of 23 Russian Shahed drones. And the response of Ukrainians? Well, it will be to attack the so-called government building of the local occupational authorities in Donetsk, and as you can see right here is the video of the consequences of this attack. But most importantly, a gigantic Russian base in Donetsk region, located in Trudovoye, was destroyed by a Ukrainian attack, and they used 3 HIMARS at least attacks to perform this destruction. Russians themselves confirmed that indeed this did happen, and at the moment of this message you can see right now on your screen, there was reportedly 65 eliminated Russian soldiers, with way more injured ones, and the total number is not yet confirmed. But the outstanding progress of Ukrainians in the east does not end here. We still cannot forget about the absolute flawless victory by Azov Brigade, which we will talk about in many details very soon. But right now just a couple of last words from the east of Ukraine. And first of all, right here in approximately Yimpil direction between Kreminne and Yimpil, Ukrainians were able to destroy an entrenched position of Russians. As we get more to the south, to unfortunately recently fallen Avdiivka, there are still combat activities happening, right now mainly in the western parts of the city and in this new settlement, which Russians selected as their next target, called Lastochkine. And in the last 24 hours there was a huge convoy of Russian armored vehicles advancing closer, which was completely obliterated by Ukrainians. Not a single armored vehicle was able to advance, and Russians did not capture any single meter of Ukrainian land. And speaking about Avdiivka itself, like mentioned previously, yes, Ukrainians still continue to fight in the western parts of it. Right here, for example, is the footage from the inside of one of Bradley's infantry fighting vehicles attacking the positions of Russians. And Russians themselves, they continue to kinda want to share pictures of total success in Avdiivka. And how can you do it? Well, obviously by taking pictures and videos of you installing the flags. Something what you can see in this video. Well, Ukrainians did not leave this to a chance. They were like, these Russians were right in the open in the middle of field. So Ukrainians took this opportunity, launched a drone and eliminated those Russians who just wanted to make a very interesting TikTok video. I wonder where they got this idea from. But unfortunately, according to the Western military experts, specifically from the New York Times magazine, they think that since Russians were able to capture Avdiivka, which is a huge so-called symbolic victory for Putin, right now they have the reserves to relocate them to another direction in the east. Still, the main direction right now for Russians remains in Zaporozhye, but those Western military experts, they think that maybe another place where Russians will attack will be next to Vuhledar, where Russians also spent countless months in the past to capture this settlement, but were completely unsuccessful, unlike in Bakhmut in Avdiivka, where they spent tens of thousands of people's lives, and they were able to capture those cities at least temporarily. Something similar happened in Vuhledar, without the final result for Russians. But we do have some very promising and good news. Specifically what I'm talking about is this video which came to us from Azov Brigade, most likely from the east of Ukraine, where they were able to do a pretty flawless victory in their night raid against the positions of Russians. And this video, it has everything you would want to see. It has a night vision, thermal vision, drone usage, snipers, everything, close combat even, activities, first-person view footage, every single thing you would want to see is in this video. They were able to approach the positions of Russians during the night, and the Russians simply did not even notice them, and they pretty much ambushed, backstabbed almost half asleep positions of Russians. Then they were able to retreat, capture some prisoners of war most likely, and claim an absolute dominant victory where Russians could not even realize what's happening. Honestly guys, this is one of the most intense videos from the Ukrainian war I've seen myself personally recently, and I highly recommend every single one of you to see it as well. The full uncensored version, as always, you will be able to find on my Patreon. The link is down below. This is another great way to support my work. And to sum things up, here is the very interesting statistics. At this very moment, approximately 85% of Ukrainians, they think that they will be able to repel the aggression of Russians and return at least some territories. But unfortunately, right here is yet another graph which shows the sentiment of the Ukrainian population, whether people of this country think if the government goes in the right or wrong direction. For example, specifically highlighted in red is the graph that you can see of those people who think that the Ukrainian government leads the country in the wrong direction. Before the war, this percentage was equal to 67%, and couple of months after the war started, it dropped significantly to 15% or even less. But right now, this percentage is back to 46%. Pretty much approximately half of Ukrainians, they think that the government is doing something wrong. And the graph highlighted in blue are those people who think that the government does something right. Before the war, it was equal to 25%. As soon as the war started, it increased to 76 to 80%. But right now, unfortunately, the number dropped significantly to 36%. And now, guys, I'm very curious, what do you think? Please let us know down below in the comments whether you think Ukrainian government is doing something right or wrong, and I'll try to read as many of your replies as possible. Because we all right here are representatives of different countries, not just one. That is why it is very interesting to see the sentiment of the world. How are you guys thinking if Ukraine is going right or wrong? If you also missed my previous video where I was talking about Budanov announcing a revenge against Russia, you can click here as the video to the left. Please also do not forget about extremely cool the Russian Youth merch we launched recently. Also follow me on Instagram to see how I live outside of YouTube. Follow my YouTube channel for the future updates. Thank you so much, Patreons, for your support, and see you tomorrow.